A single act of kindness can redirect the entire course of a life. And the truth is, most people underestimate just how powerful those small moments truly are. We live in a world where we're trained to look for big breakthroughs, dramatic transformations, or some monumental event that flips everything upside down. But real change often begins in the quietest interactions, the ones that seem insignificant at the time, yet linger in the heart long after the moment is past. Kindness is one of the most overlooked forces of human transformation because it doesn't announce itself. It doesn't demand recognition. It simply lands, takes root, and begins to grow in ways you never expect. What makes a single act of kindness so life-altering is the way it disrupts someone's internal narrative. People walk around every day carrying silent battles, fears, self-doubt, exhaustion, pain, a sense that nobody sees them or cares. When someone offers kindness, it isn't just the gesture that matters. It's the message behind it. It tells a person, you matter. You're worth something. You're not invisible. That message is the one thing they've been starving for. When a person feels seen, even for a moment, it creates a shift inside them, a sense of possibility where before there was only limitation. That's what can redirect the course of a life. It's the way a mentor speaks belief into a young person who's lost their way. It's the way a stranger steps in with generosity when someone feels hopeless. It's the way one encouraging sentence from a teacher, a friend, a coworker, or even someone you barely know can interrupt the cycle of self-doubt long enough for hope to slip through. Kindness creates momentum. It gives people the emotional fuel they need to take a step they were too afraid to take, or to stand back up after they've fallen, or to imagine something bigger for themselves than their circumstances have allowed. The extraordinary thing is that the person offering the kindness often has no idea how deeply their action impacts someone else. They don't know the timing. They don't know the backstory. They don't know the wound it heals or the strength it awakens. But in that single moment, the act becomes more than kindness. It becomes a turning point. And once that shift happens, everything that comes afterward begins to rearrange itself around that new sense of possibility. People start making different choices, thinking different thoughts, believing in different futures because someone somewhere took a moment to show them they mattered. That's why kindness cannot be measured by size. A small gesture is not small to the person who receives it at the exact moment they need it most. Kindness isn't weakness, and it isn't random. It is an intentional force that changes direction, like a hand on the wheel nudging a life away from despair and towards something better. The world is filled with people who look strong on the outside but are on the edge internally, waiting for a sign that there's still good in humanity, still hope for them, still a chance to create a future worth living. When you offer kindness, you become that sign. You become the person who unknowingly shifts someone from giving up to trying again. You become the proof that light still exists. And even though you may never see the end result, even though the person you impact may never tell you what your kindness meant, the effect is real. It ripples, multiplies, and travels further than you can imagine. That's why the smallest act can redirect a life, because it touches something far deeper than the moment itself and awakens a new path forward. Belief in someone's potential is more powerful than giving them resources, because resources alone don't create transformation. Identity does. You can hand a person money, tools, opportunities, or advice, but if they don't believe they are capable, worthy, or strong enough to use those things, they'll either waste them, fear them, or walk away from them entirely. True change begins not with what a person has in their hands, but with what they carry in their mind and heart. When someone looks at you and sees potential you haven't yet discovered in yourself, it's like they hand you a new lens to view your life through. Suddenly you begin to question the limits you've accepted. You begin to wonder if maybe you are more than your mistakes, your environment, or the story you've been repeating for years. Belief is the spark that ignites personal power, and without that spark, even the greatest resources remain dormant. When someone believes in you, they're not just offering encouragement, they're offering vision. They're giving you access to a version of yourself you haven't had the courage or clarity to see. And when someone holds that vision for you, especially at a time when you're surrounded by doubt, it has the potential to shift your entire identity. You start rising to meet the expectation they see in you. You start behaving in alignment with the greatness they reflect back at you. Belief activates responsibility. It demands that you show up differently. It forces you to stretch beyond what's comfortable. Resources don't do that. Resources make life easier, but belief makes you stronger. There are countless stories of people who grew up with nothing, no financial support, no formal education, no network, no safety net, and yet they still rose to incredible heights because someone believed in them at a critical moment, a coach, a teacher, a mentor, a stranger, a family member, not someone who gave them money or gifts, but someone who planted a seed of identity, someone who said, I see something in you, and meant it. That kind of belief becomes a source of internal fuel, a motivator that lasts far longer than any external resource ever could. Because when resources run out, belief remains. When obstacles appear, belief strengthens. When you stumble, belief helps you rise. It becomes the internal voice you return to again and again, reminding you that there is more inside you than your circumstances would suggest. Belief is powerful because it aligns with the deepest human need, the need to feel significant, capable, and seen. When someone believes in you, they're affirming your worth in a way that cuts through fear and doubt. And that affirmation creates momentum. It empowers you to take risks, to learn, to push forward even when you're terrified. It encourages you to step into rooms you never felt worthy of entering. It teaches you to trust your own potential. Resources can create comfort, but belief creates courage. And courage is what builds a new life. The irony is that belief doesn't cost anything. It requires no money, no special skill, no status. But its impact can be more valuable than any material gift. When you give someone belief, you're not giving them a momentary advantage. You're giving them access to their own power, their ability to create, to decide, to build, to overcome. You're giving them the permission to think bigger, dream deeper, and act bolder. That's why belief is transformative. It changes the way a person sees themselves. And once their self-perception shifts, their entire life begins to shift with it. Resources may open doors, but belief teaches a person how to walk through them with certainty, resilience, and purpose.